All right then. So, much to our first part of this World Cup preview, this is now very much on the actual footballing part of the World Cup, and try and putting everything to a side momentarily. There are a few things to look out for in this competition, Neil, as is often the case with World Cups. And I think perhaps we might just go like one each and start discussing what we're looking forward to or looking for in this World Cup. So, Neil. What's chief amongst you? What are you looking for in this competition?
I'm I'm looking for I'm looking to see like the Senegal really kicking it back, really taking like taking football back,
Hmm.
actually bringing football home. Um,
You're talking about Brazil, right? Just confirming
yes, yes,
there.
the Senegal, yes.
Yeah.
I really think Brazil are gonna fucking roar into this.
Hmm.
Um, I think they're just come back off the Copa America win.
Yep.
Um, oh no, wait, Argentina won the Copa America the last time in 2021, but they got
Hmm.
back-to-back ones in 2019, and they lost the other one to Argentina in 2022, so Copa America finals.
Yep.
But I really think this team has really, it's really kicked on. Like it's a fantastic fucking, it's a proper Brazil team now where every motherfucker on that is like a household name, you
Hmm.
know. Um, you've got so many of them. Obviously, you've got gimps like Neymar. Uh, you have the goalkeepers now, which is, by the way, as stated before, it's been a traditionally weak area for Brazilian teams in the past.
As yes.
Um, where they've like, oh yeah, we got these wonderful outfield players, but as for the motherfucker in the goal catching the ball, he's shit. Now, unfortunately, they've actually two of the world's best, and they've to pick between them. Um,
Hmm.
so they got players like Danilo, who's basically just been winning everything. Um,
Yep.
he's just been fantastic. Alex Tellez as well. Just been um, wonderful fucking players. Um, Lucas Paqueta as well. No,
Yeah.
Lucas Paqueta. Really looking forward to seeing him play. Um, they just got such strength and depth, such quality all over the field.
Hmm.
Um, just love it. I mean, like, it's such a crazy fucking team. If they can't get Thiago Silva or Marquinhos, they'll just get Eder Militao, who's won a Champions League, to step in. If he
Hmm.
can't, they'll get Gleason Bremer, who's the current Serie A Defender of the Year.
Yeah.
He'll just slot in. Ain't no thing. It's fucking crazy. Like, it's wonderful. And I'm really, really, really looking forward to seeing them, Really looking
Yeah.
forward to watching this team really kick on and fucking do it. I think they'll do it. I really do think they'll do it. I don't think France will do it. Everybody thinks France. Everybody I know who doesn't play FIFA, and even half the people I know who do play FIFA, think
Hmm.
France will win it for some weird reason. I don't.
Yeah, like
My
it's a
money's
weird
on
one, isn't
Brazil.
it? On the topic of France, because I do have another contender in mind, but I'm sure you probably thought of them as well. Like I do suspect it will be. I feel this World Cup personally is a toss up between Brazil and Argentina. I think it's between one of the two South American superpowers in that sense. But you mentioned France there, and I feel like France are a very interesting quantity to survey here because we France have a curious pattern in World Cups, in that they will have this fantastic, wonderful side. Say, as an example, 1998, like the names of of Zidane, Desailly, like these players are Petit, of course, as well. LeBouf, these players like win a World Cup at a canter comparatively, especially in their own country. And then in 2002, there's a racism row. The crowd, the camp is torn into shreds. The everyone's arguing with each other, and they're crashed out in the group stage. So it's not necessarily history repeating itself, but France certainly have form in being a very tumultuous group with tumultuous people. And what was fascinating in the last World Cup is that you are feeling that this could tear each other apart. That the amount of egos that inherently do get national teams is going to play out and tear the team apart. But actually, kind of almost galvanized them almost. All the big personalities worked with the hard working sorts, and players emerged as world class talents. I mean, I remember watching the game against Argentina and thinking Argentina should clean this up, even if Argentina have a few kind of like flaws in the team. And then Benjamin Pavard just scores this sumptuous goal, one of the best I've ever seen in the
That's the
World
one he
Cup.
sliced really fucking massively. I was like,
Yeah,
holy
just the
shit.
outside curve, outside boot shot, like yeah,
The goal that broke physics.
yeah.
Um,
And thinking like that, that sort of precociousness is what got them to win the World Cup. Because if this is the competition that they won with Olivier Giroud up front, and he didn't score a goal. He just he was just the final piece in that tactical puzzle, and just made everyone else play better. The Lincoln play alone was the reason why they won the competition. I'm thinking to myself, can they do that again? Is this a different team now? Because of course Benzema's back in the national team fold. He wasn't there for the Russia World Cup, um, and he has to kind of coexist with Mbappe. So you have two like
and Griezmann.
ostensibly mass and Griezmann as well, of course. At least you forget. So three massive egos, three different types of bellend, and all trying to coexist. And behind them then is a midfield that's been torn to shreds by injury. So no Christoph and Cuckoo, he just pulled up in training. Paul Pogba famously is gone, and Golo Kante, his legs are shot as well. So they're looking at an incredibly young, incredibly hungry, but very raw midfield, and that makes their team even more interesting. You know, but for France, it's gonna be weird that weird quantity where like I don't know if they're gonna blow up or not. They're either gonna collapse in on themselves or they'll do well enough to go for the competition itself.
Well, see, that's the reason why I haven't picked them. Deschamps is basically Deschamps. Prior to this, Deschamps favored a kind of like a 3-4-1-2 system,
Yeah.
but he can't play that really anymore now because of a combination of injury and players just not being up to it and retiring. So, and by the way, he'd been working on that system for the better part of a year prior to this
Mhm.
tournament. So now he's completely jettisoned it. So the team are going into this as a kind of almost work in progress. Now I understand
They're kind of reverting back to the formation they had when they won the World Cup, which is the 4-2-4-2, I
four
think it
two four
was.
two three. He's come with a 4-2-3-1. So
Yeah.
he's they've got incredible strength up front. You mentioned there,
Mm.
the midfield basically from going off as the Nation Leagues, which they won by the way, didn't they?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So going off what the Nation Leagues game, their central midfield partnership will be Chouameni and Adrian Rabiot. Um, because as we said, N'Golo Kante's gone and Paul Pogba needs to go visit his witch doctor again.
Naturally.
Um, so yeah, so Chouameni, by the way, is brilliant. He's a
Yeah.
wonderful fucking player. Um, Real Madrid are just basically building everything around him and the other two guys in his midfield alongside him. So I've no real fucking issues there with him. But yeah, like what they're gonna have with Griezmann, Mbappe, and Benzema, in that they're just gonna have Mbappe and Griezmann. They're gonna have Mbappe obviously as the speedster.
Yeah.
Griezmann, he's gonna sit back, and they're gonna have Benzema knit it all together. You know,
Mm.
um, it doesn't click all the time, but when it
No.
does, it's pretty good. And Deschamps, not Deschamps, Benzema will be desperate. He's 34 going into this tournament. I
Mm.
don't think he's going to get another one. He might, but he might not. Um, who knows? Um, uh, but as you said, one of the biggest weaknesses is going to be midfield. You know, Tchouaméni and Rabiot, yeah, they won the Nations League, kind of playing together, but they don't have a tremendous amount of experience. You
Mm.
know, and when you look at the other midfielders that are available, so you've got Camavinga, who, by the way,
It's
wonderful.
very good.
Fofana, who Vertu and Guendouzi, all of them only have 17 caps.
Yeah, that's the saying. It's the clearly the weak point of the team. But at the same time, because it's such an unknown quantity, I think that actually works for a lot of other teams. It works really well for France. The fact that like they're very moxie, their team is full of moxie.
Yeah, it does, but again, and also in reverting to that 4-2-3-1.
Mm,
he's going to have to play Mbappe wide. Mbappe can't play as that one. It
mm.
won't work. It has to be Benzema. Um, so Mbappe is going to have to be played wide. He doesn't like that. Now, he put up with it in Russia because that was 4 years ago and he was a teenager.
Yeah.
He's now the de facto sporting director at PSG on probably around about £1 million a week.
Mm.
Is he going to put up with that?
Probably
Or
not, to
emoji,
be honest.
you know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And they did like have a pretty tumultuous departure from the Euros as well. I mean, the victory by Switzerland, I think, was one of the more kind of famous upsets in the Euros in quite some time. Because again, they were quite a fancy team, France at the time, but they just got outsmarted almost by a Swiss team. So I think that this is a team that, like, if they just don't fancy, they just won't show up. And I know we say this all the time with the French team. It feels like a cliche almost, if you pardon the pun, but it is a kind of thing, especially with this team at the moment, because there's so many big players in there, big personalities, big kind of egos clashing. Again, it's a matter of those kind of gears clinking in together and working, and sometimes it just won't.
More
And I
often
think
than
that,
not, won't. Like it
yeah,
depends. And also, again, you've got injuries. I mean, like you pointed out to a number of them with Kante and Pogba, but also they've got injuries in defense as well. So
mm,
Varane does not have a good injury record. He never has.
no,
It's spotty at best. Umtiti, by the way, is gone. He's out as well. So Varane misses games. That's both their first choice central defenders and
mm,
both their first choice center mids out with injury. And like,
yeah,
fuck. And by the way, all four of those players played when they won it in 2018.
yeah,
So you're going like, holy shit. That's the main reason why I'm not going with front. It's a combination of they're trying to bed in new players, a new system, too many injuries, too many egos on the players who
yeah.
aren't injured. That's why I'm not going with France. They might go deep, no doubt about it, or they might just crash out. Like
Mm.
the last time they won a fucking major tournament, crashed out on the next one without scoring a goal.
Well, actually, here's a talking point for you, Neil, because I know we love them on this channel. Who do you, out of all the countries in the World Cup, who is going to be the biggest flop? The biggest expectations, and who do you think are going to essentially miss them by a country mile?
You know what? I understand this how based, how biased this will sound coming from an Irishman. I reckon it'll be England.
Okay, I was considering England, but I have another country in mind. But let's jump to England then in this case then. So going by going by previous records, finalists in Euros, semi-finalists in the World Cup, and pretty decent before then as well. They are on a good run tournament wise, but that doesn't tell the whole story because recent form has shown that this team is starting to crumble apart. And for want of a better word, this is perhaps Southgate's last chance to properly win this World Cup before, even if he does stay in the job, then he has to essentially rebuild a new team. Um, with young players who I think
But he's not up
are
to that. He won't
he's
do
not
that.
up to that. No.
He won't. He has his favorites. He plays his favorites. And if he can't play his favorites, then he's, I've tried nothing and I'm all out of ideas kind of thing.
Mm.
So no, they're too porous at the back. He's persisting with playing Maguire for some a reason known only to him. Maybe there's blackmail involved. I don't know. But in any case,
Mm.
it's been Maguire has been terrible,
Yeah,
terrible at Man U this
and
season,
he has got worse since
and
he's played
he's
for
gotten
England.
worse. He is markedly depreciated in form. Dyer is terrible for Spurs. I know we've said that Spurs have had their best start to the season ever, but they've
Yeah,
played some of the worst football ever. And my God, Dyer by name, Dyer by nature, he has been fucking terrible. Walker's just back after an injury. Actually, sorry, Walker's back after surgery, so he's been
yeah.
opened up, and he's going straight into this fucking tournament. I think he's only played like Carabao. He played a Milk Cup game, or
Mm.
has he even?
I don't think he's actually played since he's
Fuck,
had
he's not
surgery.
even played since he got fucking
Yeah.
surgery. Reece James is out. He's injured. Um,
and
So
Chilwell as
basically,
well. So like
yeah.
Chilwell was the
So
first one.
he's only got Stones and Shaw really as his first choice defenders that are fit and in form. And you're
And they're
like,
also players that he likes. Like he actually
they're players
plays
that he
them.
likes. Exactly. He plays them. So you got like, who else is he going to field? Is he going to field, say, Arsenal fans? Is he going to field Ben White? Liverpool fans? Is he going to field Trent Alexander
No,
Arnold? No, he's not.
he won't.
He doesn't rate either of them for some fucking ungodly reason. Ben White's probably one of the best right backs right now in the league and a superb utility player because he's nominally a centre back. And Arteta has him playing both fucking positions except to elite levels. Elite levels. You
Mm.
know, um, as for Trent Alexander-Arnold, yes, he's not had it best this season. Yes, he's been exposed. But like, what does a player of that? Does a player with that kind of quality skill level just lose it? No,
Mm.
he doesn't. Um,
But
he
at
just
least this season, I can at least make the case for Trippier over Trent. Like Trippier has been better than Trent this season, and that's fair enough. That's to do with Newcastle being better, but that's also down to Trippier having a bit of a renaissance in his career, taking what he's learned at Atletico and applying it in the English league. That's absolutely fair. There's nothing wrong with that. At least it's now on merit. I'm happier myself to say that okay, if you're going to be playing Shaw, at least you have Trippier there as his opposite number. That makes some degree of sense because if you're going to be marauding, if you're going to have marauding wing backs, there's no point having Trent playing with Shaw because that's just not the same. That's asymmetrical. So you need an equally better crosser on the opposite side for it to work. So you'd have to have Trent and Trippier to playing, which could happen. It
and
depends on who they're
also
playing
and also
against.
they'll point to like was it the World Cup final where like their first goal scored in like the first 10 minutes or something like that was Trippier crossing it too short to rifle in at the far post. So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, play the two of them.
Hmm.
Um,
Which is
it's
fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm okay with that. It's everything else is the issue. Like you said, this weird dependence on four players. Like I was trying to explain this to somebody else. Like it's like, how do you, for a team like England, for a country like England, who has a dearth of talent that they do have, the amount of blue chip players that they can call upon, to essentially boil the national team down to four players is beyond me. Now I know internally national teams have their core players and they always build a team around them anyway. Like I mean, the Dutch team always build the team around their best like centre back and midfield and whoever else can cobble up around them. Same with Spain. The team is built around a midfield tree and wherever else can go around. So everyone has their DNA, let's say, if you want to use a wanky term like that. I know England love using the England DNA as a wanky term. So but to crystallize the team into Pickford, Maguire, um, Rice, Kane, I think is a little bit disillusionary because Pickford is a goalkeeper now in a relegation battle, whereas you could pick Aaron Ramsdale or Nick Pope, who are playing better for their clubs. All three of them have issues. Like they're not the be all and end all for England number one. You're gonna have to share it evenly. Harry Maguire, as you mentioned, is a grotesquely bad centre back at the moment. You cannot play him with a
was
with
it
a
was
with
it
your conscience.
Tifo Football their review of the group was a fantastic description. Like Harry Maguire plays like a player looking for Harry Maguire.
Harry Maguire. Yeah. Which is so fucking on point. And no matter what happens in the midfield, you can have as many blue chip midfielders as you want. But Gareth Southgate will adamantly find a way to play Rice and Calvin Phillips together in a double pivot.
Even though
And
Phillips is struggling to come back from what shoulder injury.
he's shoulder injured. I think he did get some minutes in the Carabao Cup, but
Yeah,
like I say, he's only back.
that's who I was thinking of when I was
Yeah,
talking about fucking Walker earlier on. It was Phillips that I was
it
thinking
was
about.
Phillips, yeah. But that's my point. Like he has played absolutely no football this season at all, and he didn't play any football, barely any football last season for Leeds because he was shut down with injury. So even then, you're looking at a midfield two of Rice and Phillips, or potentially Rice and Henderson. He is going to favour defensive setups there, or he's going to put Bellingham in that role and essentially let him a rod up front. But then that upsets what they want to do in attack because they need to play a certain. They brought way too many wide players and not enough central players. Two strikers is what they brought to the World Cup in Harry Kane and Callum Wilson. Now, like Ivan
Crazy.
Toney is there. You could have brought another option there if you wanted to. Just to have them in the squad. I think it's just bizarre. No set piece quality.
Did he bring Wilson?
He brought Callum Wilson, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Now Callum Wilson hasn't been particularly fit that all season either.
Hmm.
So Ivan Toney was very clearly the best second choice there, but for for clearly obvious reasons, he didn't like putting money on Tony.
Mhm.
But but even then, this team is devoid of creativity. There's no Ward Prowse. Madison, I think, is a token gesture to keep fans happy. He won't get a sniff in this competition. Grealish has been playing very badly for Man City. I don't think whichever way you can cut it, he's been a terrible, terrible, terrible sign for Man City. Um, and a lot of it's now going to come down to Foden, Saka, and Mount to do all the work for Kane. And that's exactly it. It's to make the chances for Kane. It's not to take chances. And that's the most annoying part about this England side is that everything has to go through him rather than just players taking chances themselves and scoring goals. It's so attritional. It's so attritional and so depressing to look at that team because this team can do so much better, you know.
But here,
And
right, because no, Southgate rarely gets devil's advocates, right?
okay,
Pitching for him. Is it kind of like a really bizarre premise to think that if he just picked all of his most talented players, slung in a 4-3-3, they'd be fucking, uh, early 2000 Barcelona, or it'd be Manchester City? Is that us just like really really wanting to shit on Gareth Southgate that we've got this like ridiculous notion that all he has to do is just pick Bellingham, field him alongside, still sling in loads of other fucking players, sling in all
mm,
of the high super talented players, whack in a 4-3-3. Don't even play at a diamond, straight up 4-3-3. Go for it, you know, and just
mm.
blitz they'll just destroy everybody. Is that really just an incredibly stupidly fanciful notion and one that we cling to because we just really enjoy shitting on Southgate?
But yes and no. I actually is a very good point you raise because I think if you even pitch that now, I think it is kind of ridiculous because I think Southgate and indeed like it's not just Southgate, it's the entire England coaching setup from even the under 21s down. They coach in a certain particular way, and I don't think it actually encourages that sort of creativity. A lot of it is down to don't get me wrong, being cautious and overcautious is a good thing in tournament football, especially in the World Cup, where you don't necessarily want to burn yourself out in the group stages because you will have tougher games ahead. Like it is a possible permutation that the England will face the Dutch in the round of 16. And then after that, then they have a choice of potentially France or Denmark. So they have they have tough games ahead. And not gonna lie, like I'm gonna put my money on France or Denmark to beat England in that situation. So it's not guaranteed for England in that sense
So
that they
it's
have
it's
to.
not it's not guaranteed. It's like could have crossed you there. It's not guaranteed that they'll get out of that group. Like you were talking
No,
about
and that's a very good
you were
point too.
talking grudge matches against like France and the Dutch. But it doesn't get much more grudgy than England v Wales.
Well,
And
I mean, see, this is the pitfall trap they have. Well, so my argument there about the about being overcautious is that they will want to put those games away quietly. They'll want 1-0s and they want 2-0s. They won't want clean. They won't want goals conceded. They won't want teams to bombard them because realistically they want those games to be quiet and modest and away we go. And that's where Southgate is almost that's where his advantage is in kind of taking the crack out of the game. You're not getting something like
he
if you
likes an
compare
attritional style.
yeah, he drags a team into their mire. He doesn't actually encourage to play because as you encourage to play with your team, you're also encouraging to play for the opponents. Whereas like some teams will have the belief and confidence, like the Dutch, the Spanish, Germans, the Brazilians, the Argentinians, they have enough quality to hopefully out firepower you. But there's always that 1 or 2% chance that a Ghana or a Serbia or a Switzerland will outsmart you once and they'll score a goal and you'll somehow not find a way around them. Like it is, if you look at Brazil's group, for example, that's a fucking horrible group to be in. They're in with Serbia and Switzerland, two incredibly physical and experienced national teams who have got a defined style, who've got serious fucking firepower in Serbia and serious steel in Switzerland in the Swiss. And then you got Cameroon, who have a dangerous number of players in midfield that can do damage for you. Like that's a tough group for them. For England, it's a deceivingly hard group for them as well because they're going against three teams with very different styles. Like Iran under Carlos Queiroz is a defensive masterclass. They got it around the 16 just by from defending alone. The United States are a high pressure, high pressing, high energy, youthful team, and then Wales are one of the purest counter attackers in the World Cup because they've got Aaron Ramsdale, Brennan Johnson, Dan James, literally speed merchants everywhere in the fucking team. So for Gareth Southgate, like much to your point, if he played an attacking style now, he would lose. He would be out of the World Cup. He needs to take the fizz out of those games. He has to take those advantages away from them, just so he gets around a 16, and that's where he starts. Maybe he could maybe loosen the team up a little bit. A lot of it to me is down to the personnel and how they're being used, as opposed to the actual tactical side of it. Because we saw with France winning the World Cup in 2018, that wasn't a particularly exciting team to watch. But what they did was they controlled the game and then switched the gears. And England can control the game, but they stay in second gear, and that's the difference for me. They could potentially win a World Cup in second gear. That is entirely possible, and with considering it's in the dog shit heat of Qatar, probably being in second gear is probably better. But this is his last chance. He has to put away this competition, or else it's over. It's curtains, because I don't think fans and journalists alike can be any more patient with him than this. Like you cannot get any more chances to win the World Cup with a golden generation of talent in Foden, in Kane, in Bellingham, and in Trent. Like all these other players that are coming through as well. You need to do something with them. You can't end
Also,
up like
also
Belgium.
up against an American in the group, they've got an American team that are in the midst of their own golden generation.
Exactly. Like the MLS is taken off to a certain extent where those players, those clubs are starting to bear youthful fruit, and a lot of those players are going to be in the shop window. You know, and even then, you have players, American players, who are very exciting to watch, and they're not just like there from the coefficient. They are there like they were second to Canada, but this is an exciting Canada team as well, which I'm sure we'll talk about later on.
Mm-hmm.
But they're one of a multitude of teams that I'm kind of curious about because I feel like they're going to fail. So when you mentioned England there, the team I was going to mention who I think is going to fail dramatically is Portugal. So
Yeah, I'm not really giving them much of a chance, to be perfectly honest.
no, I'll tell you why, because I think there is a romantic view of this World Cup that, and again, this is how the permutations play it as well. It is very, very likely we could get an Argentina versus Portugal final. And that would be the written in the stars, beautiful narrative. If you were to write it yourself, that's the final you would have come up with, because this is finally the Messi versus Ronaldo final. They're dragging both of their national teams to the World Cup final and let them duke it out for the only World Cup they're ever going to get. That is the perfect World Cup final if you're writing it. But football doesn't work that way. And real life does get in the way, and real politics and real dynamics happen. And it's a tale of the two players as well. I think that this is now the difference between the two, where Messi has kind of shown that he actively does want to live up to the reputation of being the next Maradona. Like he has had to live with that burden of being the same, that type of player, that type of messianic figure in Argentina. There's no replacing Maradona in Argentine culture. There's none. Like he's bigger than God, in the same way that Ayrton Senna was bigger than God in Brazil, in the same way that Johan Cruyff is bigger than God in Holland. These are mercurial people that will never be replaced. Messi is close to that. But the difference is he hasn't won the World Cup with Argentina. He hasn't been the spearhead of that.
The fact that
So
he didn't up until like only a couple of years ago, he not won anything with Argentina.
nothing at all.
No,
But that's
and
the thing,
he
because
was
they won the
very,
Copa
he was
America,
very
this
much
is the
staring at.
start.
Yeah, exactly. He was very much staring on the barrel of having no zero. In fact, in the Messi versus Ronaldo kind of debate, everybody had always
Mm.
hung over and the fact that Ronaldo had won trophies internationally. Like
Yes,
he
exactly. Yeah, it was the
won the
Euros.
he'd won the
Yeah.
Euros, they'd won the Nations League, they
Mm.
won that one in 2019. Um, the hubris of the Portuguese coach Fernando Santos. He
Mm.
won after he won the Euros and the Nations League. He's like, I've only one trophy left to win. The best is yet to come. Um, Gotta love hubris in football. It never backfires on anybody. Um, so depends. So like I don't know. There's a lot of talent running through this Portuguese team.
It is a superbly talented team. The
So you
difference is, and you mentioned about Gareth Southgate playing attritional football. this Portuguese team play
Oh,
horrendous football.
in fact, actually,
Horrendous
we
football.
got crap on YouTube when we were fucking commenting on
Yes, that's right. We
The
did.
Euros win as being anti-football. It was terrible. It
But
was
it's the same coach. It's Fernando Santos. He does not let these players loose. And it is very frustrating. Again, it works on the international scale level because it's a different size. It's tournament football. It's knockout football. You can't really give a quarter. But look at the team you have, for God's sake.
I
Like
know.
you,
I looked it up there. All 11 players in their starting squad lineup have all commanded more than £30 million fees.
mm,
um,
like literally, like Portugal is the fucking the white rhinos, the white elephants, the tusks of the fucking European football markets. Like if you have a Portugal flag near your profile and transfer market, your value goes up by 10%. You know, kind of way. Like this is when we were complaining about Belgium having the golden generation. Look at Portugal. Look at the talent they could squander here by not getting this right, by not letting these players go. Um, but on my argument about like Messi trying to like basically pull his countrymen together and finally winning the Copa America and now hopefully trying to win the World Cup. Look around what's happening with Ronaldo. He's got on a fucking interview with Pierce Morgan moaning about how it's not his fault that he's shit. It's everyone else's fault. It's the climate's fault. It's the Mars not aligning with Jupiter's fault. It's
yeah.
the fault of everyone else. It's me, all the same. It's the selfless versus the selfish. And that's going to tear the Portuguese camp apart, in my opinion.
Is it more of a case of like, when it's that typical fucking on paper, this team should be killing everybody, but the
Hmm.
reality is, you know, it's just not it. Like there's a thing there, like on like the biggest weakness is obviously their forward options. All right, because they've got wonderful midfielders and even solid defenders,
Yeah.
but up forward. But then you look at the team on paper, and that shouldn't be the case. So right, who have they got up front? Right, Ronaldo, one of the best players to ever do it.
Hmm.
Jota, um, one of a regular goal scorer and second in command up front for what was one of the best club teams in the world right now. João Felix, one of the most expensive players of all time. Andre
Yeah.
Silva, he scored 31 goals in the 2021 season. Very good striker. Rafa Silva, 11 goals and 5 assists in 22 games for Benfica so far this season.
Yeah.
Pedro Neto, I mean, we've seen him play for Wolves. He's one of the only decent things about Wolves. Goncalo Guedes, he scored 11 goals in last season. Very good backup option. But the thing is that, as the Athletic states, that's the expectation. That's it on paper.
Hmm.
All of what I've said is completely true. The reality, however, is completely different. Ronaldo can't get into his team. Jota's going to miss the tournament because he's injured. João Felix has only scored 3 times in 17 games this season. He's completely out of form. Andre Silva
Hmm.
can't get into the Leipzig team. You know, Silva Silva retired from international football. You know, Neto is injured. Guedes has been crap at Wolves.
Yeah.
It's just that's the reality. Is that like you're thinking?
And the
Is that
reality
more of
is
a,
that they're not going to
is
get
that
ahead
what's
of a
gonna?
Ronaldo who has been the spearhead of that team for 20 years.
But Ronaldo can, to some degree, he can sort of park his ego for their national team,
Hmm.
or at least make it work to his
Advantage, yeah.
advantage. I the again, I pointed this out with our France kind of rundown. I don't think Mbappe can do that. Neymar
Hmm.
can somewhat do that. In fact, um, when he does do that, Brazil they play really well and they win. And then, in fact, actually, the reason I think one of the main reasons why they didn't win the last World Cup was because he went all virtuoso, started trying to win games on his own, and
Yeah.
basically froze out everybody else. Left Gabriel Jesus on his own, never worked with him, and boom, and Jesus wound up bearing the brunt for that
Hmm.
tournament because he didn't score a goal and he was the centre forward. Where in actual fact he was meant to act as foil for Neymar, and Neymar was like, "No, I'll do this all on my own," and he couldn't.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is that more of a thing? Like that's what's going to rip this Portuguese team is that the reality just doesn't stack up when you look at it on
Hmm.
paper. It's like this would be great, and then you look at the reality of the situation. You're going, this is going to be crap. It's the thing is
Yeah.
that like they just don't have anybody. Like they've got great names, but like none of them are having a good season. Like that was every forward option I named there that they have. and
Yeah.
every single one of them are playing shit.
Yeah, but you can say the same thing about England. Like that's what I mean. Like it's whether you look at the World Cup as either like a continuation of the footballing season as it is, which it again is the middle of the season, so it should be, or it's a reset because all these players are now going to be playing in different systems and different players. So it's essentially a break from the tedium they have at home. Like you could argue, as daft as it sounds, that Harry Maguire is going to switch on for England because it's a system that caters to him. He's the centerpiece of that. He has been trusted with that. So unless there's some sort of mental confidence boost that he's going to get because of that, I don't know. I mean, football's a weird sport; these things can happen. But like I said with the Portugal team, I just look at all this the I look at the way they play and how attritional they are and how ponderous they are with the players they have. That should not be the case. And with Ronaldo being the focal point and him actively trying to drag this team kicking and screaming to the World Cup, I just don't think it's going to happen. You know, now
Yeah,
that being said,
there
the
is the
group they're
theory
in
that
is very generous.
he basically manages the Portuguese team. That's what he
Yes,
plays every fucking minute.
yeah, there is. Not to remember the Euros that he actually won, but he was pretty much on the sidelines with Fernando Santos sparking ideas.
Mm.
So maybe he does, and maybe he doesn't. But it helps that they're in a fairly generous group in the sense where South Korea and Ghana might spring a surprise, but it's unlikely. Uruguay is the one they're going to get that's potentially going to spank them and give them a bit of reality check, which of course, if they finish second, changes their pathway to the World Cup. But either
Also,
way,
they struggled to even qualify for this, didn't they?
they did. They
They
finished
didn't have a
second in
good
our group
qualifier. They
ahead of
didn't have
Serbia.
an easy qualification. Like,
Yeah, no, they're in our group. They finished second. Serbia beat them to it, and they had
mm.
to beat Italy to get to the World Cup in the first place because
Yeah,
Italy
but
had a similar campaign to them.
that's a particularly dire Italy team. Like everybody beat them after they won the Euros, then they just went to shit.
They did exactly. Just the Cinderella effect happened. But so we've identified a couple of teams there of potential like favorites in Argentina and Brazil. Um, would we throw any other countries into the mix there? Are we looking at a Germany or Spain resurgence as a potential favorite to win the World Cup here? Because they're
Um,
two very similar teams in the sense that they're very system oriented, very much dominated by the coach. Actually, Joe, we'll try the Dutch in here as well, although I don't think the Dutch will get that far. But very domineering by the coach, very system oriented. In fact, even the actual like national team selection is oriented around the style they're going to play, especially if you're Spanish. Um, like, is that going to make a difference? Do you think? And out of those three, can you identify any that could potentially snag the World Cup this season?
well, out of the three of them, I I'd say Germany have the biggest chance of swagging it.
Hmm.
Well, Flick was Lowe's assistant when they won it in
Hmm.
2014, so they've got a bit of experience in management wise. But yeah, they've got a really good team. They've no kind of real focal point, you know.
Yeah, they're missing a number nine.
They're missing a proper number nine, but it's not that doesn't mean when people say, "Oh, you don't have a number nine," that means you've got fuck all in attack. Germany don't. Germany have lots to attack. They just don't have that ridiculous. They've never replaced Miroslav Klose.
Yeah.
Um, my God, would they kill to have him? Uh,
Hmm.
so I don't know. It's but like when I look at that Germany team, I think it's just solid from front to back. They just don't
Hmm.
have a particular focal point. But every
Yeah.
single they've got a lot of really good informed players. So they've got Kimmich, Goretzka, and Gundogan has had a brilliant season for City. He's been
Hmm.
excellent for them. You know, then they got younger players like Musiala.
Oh, great player.
He's fucking brilliant. Yes. Right. So Werner's injured. He won't be there, thankfully, because he's been playing shite. Uh,
Hmm.
but he's just been great. And like people forget, like the Bundesliga is just this fucking conveyor belt of just unbelievable fucking like talent. You know,
Hmm.
So you got to think Schlotterbeck. They're going to be taking Schlotterbeck. He's brilliant. There's just got loads of really, really great players, and I think, yeah, no, I think, no, I think they're going to be good. I think out of those three teams that you enabled as a kind of dark horse, which is weird to consider Germany as a dark horse team.
True,
Um,
yeah.
I find that kind of odd, but no, I like him. I like out of those three, I'd say Germany have the best chance of winning it.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily rule out Spain as well, but I think they're a bit of a flat track bully for me. Just kind of the way they kind of lay out. Luis Enrique has very much set a stall over what type of team he wants to play, and it's just kind of accept that certain teams, certain players are not going to fit that system. And look, it's handy for Spain to say that because they do not have a limited well of resources. They have plenty of players to choose from, and they can pick and choose, and they can spoil themselves in that sense. I mean, they had like six choices for goalkeeper, and David De Gea was number six in that list, which is
Yeah, he
insane to
didn't
think.
even make like there was like a 52 player long list that
He
they
didn't
put
make
out.
that
He
list.
didn't even
No,
make that list.
yeah,
But then he,
and
he
then he's
hasn't
got
he hasn't made that national team for a while. He's too bad with the ball at his feet.
yeah, and that's exactly the reason. Like it's a stylistic choice. It's to make the team better, to play better, whatever it is. And look, the results are quite promising. The Spanish team are in a good vein of form, and it helps as well that they have now another injection of young talent, predominantly Pedri and Gavi, who are now the palindrome in that midfield, and that youthful energy that they're going to hope is going to keep that team going, and certainly help protect Busquets, who's now 48 at this stage, I think. Um, but they also have very different type of forwards now. They still can't find a role for Alvaro Morata, who is a terrible, terrible striker. Jesus Christ. But what they do have is Ferran Torres. They've got Danny Olmo. They've got a lot of really good blue chip players that can do something for them. And I think that's where they're going to get most of their goals from. They're going to get goals from there, whereas Morata is almost like the big obelisk that distracts everybody. He's like a fucking 6'3" decoy, um, which could actually work. As for the Dutch, like I think the Dutch are another informed team where like the players don't really like the system of play, but they can't deny it works, which is so bizarre to think. Because Van Dijk has famously said he hates playing the back three because essentially players get in his way and he doesn't like the kind of the sweeper movement that you have to do. But it works for the team overall because again, most of like if you want to say the hot Dutch's points are kind of in defensive midfield, so let's maximize that. When you have De Ligt, Dumfries, De Vrij, Van Dijk, and Malacia as your back five, you're gonna fucking use that back five. Like that's going out saying. Um, and when you have and Justin Timber there as well as an option, then you have De Jong. You have so many fantastic, classy Dutch midfielders to choose from. That like basically you have a choice between Depay and Veghorst as your focal point, and they're two very different players.
What
You
about
know,
Gakpo?
Gakpo as well, Zaxi Simmons. I mean, there's a lot of great players there to be
See
to
that's a
look at.
funny thing actually. What's weird about the two main weaknesses, the main weaknesses in the other two teams that we've stated in Spain and Germany, the Dutch don't have. They have focal points. They've actually got a few of them. I think Gakpo's been amazing.
He's been brilliant.
Yeah, he's been fantastic for Eindhoven, and I think they'll go with that because they'll want to bet him in. They'll want him in. They'll want him in the Orange for a
Yeah.
while now, and they're just like, look, we'll throw him in and
And
see
they
how he
also
goes.
have a group where they can do that because they'll comfortably qualify top of that group, you should think. Because they're not going to like Senegal won't have Mane fit by that time. They're hoping he'll be fit for the second game or the third game. Ecuador and Qatar should not be a difficulty to this Dutch team. So they have the moxie, they have the youthful energy that they need, and Van Gaal excitingly can now play the fast flowing football he wants because he now has a younger team to work with. That's what was kind of holding him back the last time he was playing the he was managing the Dutch side because he said he has to slow the game down and be attritional because the team were not able to work that pace. They needed to eke out performances. Now it's the shoes on the other foot and says, you know what, fuck it, let's just go for it. Let's be Dutch. Let's run around the place and fucking bring total football back. and they
Aren't
have.
they,
They've
aren't
played
they
pretty well.
held back in somewhat in that regard by not having a proper keeper?
Yeah, they're very slim pickings and keepers. That's the difference.
I think hang on, who the
They've
fuck are
got three choices. They've got now Jasper Schillison has been in the team perennially for the last while, but he's the third choice at this stage. Pasveer is the Ajax goalkeeper, but he's 37. He's having a bit of a Van der Sar phase of his career, which is like nothing wrong with that in a sense. But I suppose the bet the first race is probably going to be Justin Bijou, who's the Feyenoord keeper. Um, yeah, like it's slim
that's
pickings.
not good.
It's not, and that's the weakness. The weakness is going to be in the goalkeeping department. But like I said, look at the defenses protecting him. Like they could very well compensate in that sense. They might lose a goal or whatever it is, but I'd be confident the Dutch can get that goal back. You know what I mean? Um,
Wait a minute,
because like
Sillison and Flecken aren't even in the squad.
is this not make it? Oh, he probably didn't actually.
Oh, no, my God, couldn't mind. Andres Noppert of Heerenveen.
Irving. Okay, yeah,
So,
okay, fair
so
enough.
yeah, so Pasveer, he's Ajax,
Hmm.
Noppert, and fucking Biljo.
Bill Joe, yeah,
Biljo. That's
yeah.
not a good three keeper setup.
It's not. No, it's not. It's not enough to win the World Cup, I don't think. But like I said, they will be. They'll be a bit of a pest, and I think depending on how Group B goes, I think England will be desperate to
Oh,
avoid the
Pasveer is
Dutch.
39. Oh my God.
Yeah. Like I said, he's Ajax's number one, and that's only because Ajax got rid of Onana. Like, like they can't find they can't source a better keeper in time. Like realistically, so we mentioned those three potential out like runners in this competition as well. Actual proper tangible dark horses, Neil. Let's set them out on the table. Two dark horses each. Who have you got?
Two. Um, my first one actually, it may not be much of a dark horse for a lot of people, but no,
Mm.
here, fuck it, no, I will go with dark horse. I'll say Denmark.
Yeah, Denmark is on my list as well, but I'll pick someone different. But let's talk about Denmark. I love the Danish team. Let's wax lyrical about it. Come on.
It's just brilliant.
Mm.
They've just got a fantastic team. I'm loving the Ericsson arc. I'm a sucker for a good fucking storyline.
Yeah.
Let's face it. Him being back in, I'm loving every second of it. I really, really, really fucking am. They had a great Euros. I think they're on a high. I think they're riding a crest of a good crest of a wave. And yeah, I think no, I think they're gonna be fucking. I think they're gonna be fucking good. I think they're really gonna dig in. They're gonna play for each other, and they're really gonna be a whole greater than the sum of the parts. You know.
Mm.
So
Yeah, out of all the of all the teams in this competition, Denmark definitely feel like that, like where they have their individual talent, but it all comes together for the team. Like they have that balance where like you have individual class, but it makes the team better as opposed to having one overpowering like kind of like player that everything has to go through. Like Ericsson obviously is the playmaker and focal point of the team, but look at the players that are around him now. Like you've got Scott Olsen who's starting to come through in Serie A, and then Damsgaard who's got his move to Brentford, who was brilliant when he kind of essentially debuted for Ericsson in the Euros. And like I said, look, they have serious players in defense. They've got very like different options in attack as well. But a lot of them are target men, players that you need to mark in on set pieces. They've just maximized what they have in Denmark, and I look at how they do things and look to us and go, why can't we be more like them? Why can't we maximize our players? Why can't we find the secret sauce that unlocks all this team? You know, um, and I think it will be a very popular winner in a sense. I don't think they win the World Cup outright, but everyone will love to see what happens with Denmark. Probably not Qatar because Denmark are one of the few countries that are calling you out on your shit, Qatar. But it'd be a very popular winner. Like they like if they do go far into the competition, like quarterfinals, semis, I think there's going to be a lot of love for Denmark, and rightfully so, because I think they deserve it. This is what happens when you have an FA and a team that's fully in sync and work together.
absolutely, yeah. They've got a lot of really good players. Lindstrom and Dahlberg, really, really fucking good players. Love watching
Hmm.
them. Again, like a lot, like actually quite a lot, like a lot of teams, they lack a pure number nine, or a focal point for the attack. Um, Maybe that'll be Dahlberg. I reckon that probably will be him.
Or Poulsen, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Hasn't he? Isn't he injured?
I don't know. I thought he made the team. I could be wrong, but yeah, if that would be Dahlberg because they're structurally the similar player. Like the target men for all intents and purposes.
Exactly. And the reason why we make such an issue of teams lacking a proper number nine or a proper target man is that when you get into a real fucking dogfight,
Mm,
like they're the guys who pull their arse out of the fire. Like a proper
yes.
fucking number nine who will score that clutch goal, that fucking yeah,
Mm,
who'll just hold up the ball and allow everybody else to kind of flood in and really make something of it.
yeah.
When when the game is literally you're just clawing inches by your fucking fingernails, a good number nine really helps as a great pressure release valve for
Mm.
a team. But yeah, no, I'm happy enough with Denmark, and I'll be watching most of their games. Actually, I'll have to admit. I
I think they have a decent group to flex their muscle as well because I don't think Australia and Tunisia is going to put up much of a fight. And they've beaten France before, so they could very well top the group,
twice.
which again just determine the changes who they could face in the long run because like if you're looking at Group C, you're probably looking at Argentina topping regardless. So whoever's second in that group is going to try and avoid them. So if France end up fucking getting Argentina in the round of 16, that's a bit of a replay of what happened the last World Cup. But then conversely, Denmark can have an easier path to the quarterfinals because Mexico or Poland. Like that's the target. They need to maximize that game against France potentially. So
Mm-hmm.
um so I think they're a good lucha team. I want to throw one in here. Not on the kind of opposite scale of the dark horse spectrum here, where Denmark nice and structured, nice and sensible, good team, good honest fun. I'm going to go for the complete opposite. I'm going to go for chaotic, wonderful energy that is all down to the front men. I'm picking Uruguay as my dark horses.
Yeah,
Edison Cavani, Luis Suarez, and Darwin Nunez is the front three of a Uruguayan team. Oh my fucking Jesus!
that clicks. You imagine if that clicks.
like I said, like this is Cavani who's finally fit. This is a Suarez who's playing his football back in Uruguay for a while. Like he's back home, and he's starting to kind of reconnect with the national team in that sense. So two players who are mentally in a good place, and they have Darwin Nunez who basically like not necessarily opens doors but sets the doors on fire and does it for them. So like Cavani can play centrally, and you have these two absolute fucking psychopaths playing alongside. But it's not just that. It's not just Uruguay. They do have a lot of young, exciting talents coming through as well. I'd probably put Bentancur in that category. In fairness, but it's not just him. It's Manuel Ugarte,
Valverde as well is in that team, isn't he?
Valverde as well. Yes.
Federico
Now Valverde
Valverde.
will probably
Fucking
he,
brilliant.
he'll be absolutely brilliant. Now, I don't know where Valverde will play in his Uruguayan team because he should play number eight in theory, but I don't think it's guaranteed. He could very well play that right wing, kind of like half and half role he plays for Real Madrid because he's really really good in that little pocket. I don't know what it is about that little pocket on the right wing, but he's very good there.
Yeah, he can
Um,
play wide.
Whitish
I
is the word.
see him kind of more pulling the strings.
Yeah, it
Oh,
makes sense if he was playing number eight. That's the thing. It makes sense if he does. But either way, I think he's flexible enough to do that. So players I've kind of I'm are there's two players from Sporting that I'm going to keep an eye on, which is Gonzalo Inacio, I believe his name is, or Inacio. He's only 21, centre back. He probably will be the foil to either Godin or Jimenez in central defense. They normally go for Godin and Jimenez as the choices, but Godin is like reaching fucking pensioners age at this stage, so I don't think he'd be playing every game. So you probably reckon to see him or Coates playing for Uruguay. So he'll be there. And
that's
the other
not a
one
fast
is
back lion.
huh?
That's not a fast back lion.
It's not, and that's why they'll probably put Inacio in for his speed, and because they do have very slow centre backs overall. Um, And then in the midfield, then they'll have Manuel Ugarte, who I think is 21 or 22 as well. And again, a very raw, forming to be a number eight. Like again, he's one of those players that is very scrappy and has a good pass in him. And I think between him and Bentancur and Valverde is a very strong midfield tree. So with Uruguay, it's kind of like a Uruguay are going to be that like that beautifully flawed team where like they will have a lot of it in attack and midfield, and the defenders are old age pensioners. But that's the fun, isn't it, Neil? That's the fun of it is watching these teams try and make best of what they have.
Very much so. Really
Mm.
love about them. There's like lots of South American playing in South American. So there's the
Mm.
flamenco player, Diarrasqueta,
Yeah,
Georgian
they're
Diar.
asking it. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he'll be looking to unlock. They'll play him as a 10.
Mm.
Some good fucking highlight reels floating around on Twitter about him. So yeah, no, that's pretty good. I think yeah, a front loaded team looking to blow everybody away. Love it.
Yeah. And again, they're in a group that can do that because I don't think Ghana or Korea are great shakes. It all goes down to the group. And again, they're a group that pairs with Brazil in the round of 16. So it's very much a case of avoid Brazil at all costs type of group. Um, but another team, funny enough, in Brazil's group, I was going to tip as well, Serbia. We know them very well from our qualifying group, but this is a Serbian team that's gone, in my opinion, a lot better since we played them in the qualifying groups because a lot of team players have emerged from that Serbian outfit. Um, I mean, there's some certain players we knew already, like Milinkovic Savic, who is a sublime player for Lazio. He's practically a cult hero for them. Um, and
I've
various,
waxed lyrical on this podcast about how he's still at Lazio. Like, oh, I didn't know Premier League teams go.
yeah,
Here's all the cash. Give us him. Why is he still at Lazio? What is wrong with Premier League teams that they've looked at Milinkovic Savic and gone, no, he can stay. He can stay there.
yeah,
No, no, he can't. There's almost no team in the Premier League that he wouldn't improve.
yes, a
Uh,
hundred
fucking hell! Like how? No, no, no. I'll be here all year. Fuck it.
percent.
No.
But in that time, what they've done is they have now a seriously terrifying front line in Dusan Vlahovic and Alexander Mitrovic, and there's Petkovic there as well, and Ivan Ilic. There is another striker there as well that I'm forgetting. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember his name. Um, but either way, they have five genuine contenders for strikers up there, and I think they play two up front, or I think they used to anyway. So either way, you've got like two like huge center forwards to have to deal with, quite a lot of service from the midfield, and dogged centre backs. You know, um, bit
It's a
of
nice
deadwork
spine
carried
to
out
the
as
team.
well. What's that?
Nice spine to a team.
It's a good spine. And like I said, they cleared out quite a bit of dead work because again, when we were qualifying with against them, they would have had a back fulcrum of say Nemanja Matic and Luka Milivojevic, who neither have made this team, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. And they're now opting for younger players and players who are kind of taking the mantle from those that came before. And it's probably going to suit the team a lot better. You know, they have precocious, talented players, and they're starting to use them. But much to the point of the likes of Vlahovic and Mitrovic, they have the physical bulk and the aggressiveness to do things. I think like the match that I'm looking forward to in that group is Serbia versus Switzerland because both teams are just going to knock the piss out of each other, and for no other reason because they could. You know what I mean? Like there's actually no
Do
other
you need
reason
any
why.
other reason? Do we
No,
need
they
any
don't.
other
No, they
reason?
don't. They both teams have chosen violence on this day. Um, but like I said, this is the type of World Cup where that level of physicality might actually suit. You know, where you don't necessarily have to be technically gifted or, full of flicks and tricks. It could be down to doggedness. It could be down to aggression that actually gets you through some of these games. And it might only need a 1-0 win or a 2-0 win. They're not going to smash people 4, 5, or 6-0. They don't need to. they'll just have to score enough, and then good luck trying to get past their four backs of four, the two backs of four. It's that type of team that while I think they're quite basic, make the basics work.
Hmm.
So that's my second pick.
Hmm.
Um, Neil, I don't want to put words into your mouth here, but dare I say your second pick could be from the CONCACAF region, perhaps a place you've lived in
You would be
before.
very much correct. My
Ah.
second pick for dark horse to go places and do stuff would be Canada. Um,
Now, you have sold me on Canada, by the way. I just want to state that for the record. Since you look, I knew Canada were going to be interesting because it's the first time in a long time they've been in the World Cup. But I have extensively read up on the Canadian team, and I'm fully in. So Neil, educate me and everyone else on why Canada is worth a watch in this World Cup.
well, first off, they got a psychotic manager in John Herdman.
Mm-hmm.
The other Jonathan I'll be getting to in a wee bit now.
Mm-hmm.
He's basically nuts. He's constantly got AirPods in, and he's just, Arteta levels of just barking fucking at players. But in any case, you can't get past this Canadian team without talking about Jonathan David. He's playing wonderful football for Lille right now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
he's only just behind Mbappe in Ligue 1. He's only 22. He's one of the names. I mean, like, teams have been talking about this guy for about a year or two now. Again, he's another one alongside Milinkovic Savic, players who I'm looking at going like when I heard when Isak went to Newcastle, I was like, right, somebody's gonna snap up John David from Lille. Somebody has to buy him from Lille. Somebody has to fucking. And when nobody did, I was like, what the fuck? Any case, expect him after this World Cup to go to a big top club. Simple as. It's gonna happen. He's brilliant. The nickname for him is the Iceman. Funnily enough,
Mm.
um, brilliant. They annihilated their CONCACAF qualifying group. Finished top of it. I think they only shipped like 7 goals. Granted, the World Cup's a bit of a different beast, but they've got great players all over the place. To get Alphonso Davis killing it at
Mm.
Bayern Munich, he will always do that. They've got real pace. Got really, really good transitional. I see them nailing teams on the break because
Now
they
this is the point I wanted to make because the group
don't
that
have a
they're
fast back line. They
yeah.
won't really play a high line. Um, there's a good bit of question marks all over this team. I think a lot of them will come good. They're quite good, but this team's main strength is the fact if they get the ball, they're one of those teams that no matter where on the pitch they get the ball, it's usually in your box after about 3 seconds, 3 or 4 seconds. No matter where
Yeah.
you lose you can lose that ball at their corner flag. You turn around in about 4 to 5 seconds, it's nearly in your box again, and they'll have like 3 or 4 fucking players there. They
Yeah.
swarm, they attack in numbers and at unbelievable amounts of speed. We talked earlier on about Darwin Núñez setting land speed record in the Premier League. Alphonso Davis is the Bundesliga top speed record, topping out at 22 and a half. Sorry,
32 and a half, isn't it?
20. No, Jesus, 32. Christ almighty. Sorry, that's miles an hour I was talking about. Apologies.
Oh, miles. Sorry, yes, fair.
Metric system's a tool of the devil. Uh, um, no, KPH, it's 36 and a half. KPH, he
Fair.
topped out at 22.69 miles an hour,
Mm-hmm.
which is fast.
Yeah, quite,
Let's,
quite fast.
so yeah, they've got so much talent in there. They got really good. An older back line. They got central midfielders coming off of injuries. Another Jonathan, Osorio,
Mm.
he plays for Toronto. He's coming off a quote neurological dysfunction after being elbowed in the fucking head. He hasn't played in a while, so there's deficiencies in the center of this team. I'll accept that. I
Mm.
think they won't play. They're not. They're not going to try and play through the middle. They're going to get the ball. They're going to spread it wide. They're going to get it forward fast, and they're going to kill a lot. I see they're going to kill a lot of teams on the break. They're not going to want to sit back really. They're not going to invite a lot of pressure. They're going to this team's going to kill it in transition. In any case, even if they don't win any of the games, which is entirely likely, um, they're going to be fun to watch. This is going to be an exciting team. Like
Yeah.
we always talk about international football being attritional and slow and stodgy. Canada they aren't going to do that because they can't do that. They have to play on the break. They have to play with speed. They have to play pretty much by the seat of their pants. And
Mm.
that's the kind of football we love watching. So
Yeah, like much to that point, like because obviously like you mentioned David there as well, but the key thing is like people who know of Alfonso Davis know him as a left back for Bayern, but for Canada he's left wing. He's a number nine,
yeah,
you know. So and I think as well, like on the right side, I think it's either Buchanan or Laren. I think plays on the right, or is it David that plays the right and Laren is center? I can't recall.
yeah. The Bruges Tajon Buchanan.
But Buchanan, okay, so
He's
Buchanan
on the
plays
right.
right.
Yeah, no, he's
He's
on
on
the
the
right.
right,
He's an awesome dribbler. Like he gets the ball's
yeah.
fucking glued to his feet.
Yeah.
Love watching that guy.
Yeah. So you have that front three alone, which again, it's very the way you describe Canada is very reminiscent to how the Welsh team is kind of set up. And we kind of even earmarked the Welsh team as going like, don't rule these fuckers out. Like they will hit you on the counter. And again, look at the counter attacking power they have. I think Canada is like that, but a bit more. Because again, these they have also players that in the back of the back of the team that are MLS experienced and also kind of like I think there's like one or two players that play for Bruges at the moment who are in good form too. Um, but when you mentioned the fact that they're such a fast counter-attacking team, I just couldn't help but notice the teams the group that they're in. Morocco, who like two best players are their wing backs, which is Mazuri and Hakimi.
Croatia.
Um, Croatia, who has a 37-year-old Luka Modric in midfield. I did have Croatia kind of earmarked as a bit of a dark horse. I think they will do okay this year, this season anyway, because my God, their midfield is fucking beautiful. Um, but then I'm looking at Belgium and how they are the oldest team in the competition, and I'm thinking they can be gotten at because
You think Belgium have wasted that golden generation they have?
absolutely. No, don't get me wrong. Like look, it's a tournament football. It can happen. These shit like this will happen. It has to kind of the stars have to align for you, you know. And look, they got close with the third place finish in Russia. But look, these things like sometimes a team gets there before you. You know, you can get knocked out on a day. Someone can beat you on your finest hour. I think the difference. I think when they look back at this and they kind of like digest what could have been, they probably could say they could have done with a better coaching than Roberto Martinez. I think he's a very very good manager in his own right, but he was good at the start when Belgium didn't really have much to work with. Now they have they've had the best generation of players that any European team with that kind of catchment could ask for. And they didn't really maximize it because at that point they were the best team in the world. They were number one in the FIFA rankings. They
To
were
win
winning
anything?
difference. Yeah, they were. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah, they were. I think they're number two still in the rankings, as far as I can recall.
No, did they win anything?
They won absolutely nothing.
Fuck.
No Nations League, no Nations League, no Euros, no World Cups. They have nothing to show for it. They're going to be that type of team that like are spoken of like, oh, how did this team not win anything? And it's the nature of tournament football. Sell a fucking V, like, you
Yeah.
know, it is sad that the like I don't get me wrong. Like I think they might have a renaissance and they might do something this year because they're on the easier side of the brackets comparatively. But like, that's not to say that they could be caught out as well because they do have a back line that's ailing. You know, like Vertonghen and Alderweireld are still in that team, and
Oh,
they're
they're
kind
still
of
the centre backs.
they are yes, and that's now this is the red flag, right? Because
Oh, fuck off. That must be like they must be like 100 years old.
this is the issue they have because their points have dropped significantly in that time. They have a lot of faith in Wood Faze, who plays for Leicester now, so they have a lot of faith in him. Uh, and they're just kind of hoping that their wing backs of Munier and probably Thorgan Hazard are going to do the business for them, and they might not.
And hope
You know,
Courtois bailed them out. Thank fuck Courtois is like literally playing the
it
football
helps that he's probably the
like
best goalkeeper in the world right now. It
he's
does help.
playing absolutely wonderful fucking football.
Yeah,
Um, he's really super. He's a really super keeper. He's fucking on it.
yeah,
Um, Yeah, I suppose that's why they're fielding fucking Vertonghen and Alderweireld. If you've got a like elite tier keeper and Courtois behind them, you can go, yeah, well, we can field them.
Yeah.
He'll
Now,
bail
don't
them
get me
out.
wrong, like Belgium do have another golden generation on the way, but it's not quite the same as Lukaku, De Bruyne, Hazard. It's not, and Courtois, of course. It's not the same
Both of
level.
the
But
Hazards.
both the Hazards, indeed. Like they do have good strikers coming through, like the Kettler, who got a big money move to AC Milan, and of course Trossard, who is tearing up trees at Brighton. He will probably start for Belgium ahead of Hazard. To be fair, he's a natural replacement for them there. But again, it's one youthful player in was a team that is still getting quite old. I mean, Tielemans will probably start, but he's up alongside Alex Witsel, who's 33, and Kevin De Bruyne is 31. Alderweireld and Vertonghen will probably start, and Wout Faes will probably come in. There is another Belgian defender I'm trying to remember, but it's the name escaping me. It could be Denier, but I don't know if he got picked or not. Um, I don't have the squad in front of me, so I don't know. But either way, the average age is old, compared to the rest of the group. So Canada can certainly use that to their advantage potentially.
Mhm.
Um, even Croatia, Croatia Belgium could be actually the oldest game in the competition, to be honest. Realistically speaking, but like I said, that is an opportunity for Canada. Like if they do outwork one of those two teams, they could potentially get to the round of 16, which would make things very exciting for them. Realistically, and I think they could do it. I really, really think they could. I think they should clear Morocco easily. Um,
Yeah, they're kind
but
of the group whipping boys, aren't they?
a lot of them are unfortunate. Like it's I don't like to be the guy to say it, but it's not a very strong African contingent this year. Senegal are by far the best team in Africa at the minute, and uh, I don't think there's any really discussion about that. Egypt, if they got through, may have obviously with the Salah effect there, but that team is just Salah and friends. There's no one else really kind of challenging there. Um, so like Senegal will probably get through in that group and get somewhere, but there's no Nigeria, no Ivory Coast. There's very little to kind of pick for the perennial favourites, if you will. Tunisia are playing good football, but it's the same kind of issue they have is that they just have a ceiling, and so would Morocco in that sense. Cameroon are in a horrible group. I don't think they'll have a snowball's chance in hell. Ghana could surprise because they've naturalized a lot of players. Inaki Williams now plays for Ghana. Tarek Lamptey. There's another
Yeah,
one I can't.
they. I was about to say um they've done a lot with
Hmm.
swagging a lot of players.
Yeah,
They've,
they did have Hudson Odoi for a brief spell, and then I think he switches allegiance back to England. Um,
yeah,
but I
Nketiah
can't.
turned them down as well.
Yeah, there is another player that has gone to Ghana, but I can't recall who it was at this time. But basically, they're trying to like get those kind of nationalizations to improve the squad, and it has
Are you
indeed
talking
worked.
to Semenyo of Bristol?
Semenyo's one of them. I thought there was another one that is on my.
Yeboah Konigsdorfer.
Uh, no, I don't think so. I think it was a midfielder. I think it was. Okay, it was no. Do you know what? It was Mohamed Kudus I was thinking of because he can declare for Holland. So I think it was
Right,
Kudus.
right, right,
Yeah.
right, right.
But yeah, so like I said, they're kind of slim pickings from that sense. But Senegal and Ghana will be the ones from Africa to watch. I don't think Morocco can really do much in that group. Like they're most of their points are in their wing backs. So unless they play them as fucking very, very wing backs, I don't think it'll happen. Um, so we'll wrap up this World Cup preview. We discussed a couple of the teams, but to end the podcast for now until we do start discussing the World Cup in depth. Let's pick a banter club. We need to have a banter club to unironically follow in this World Cup. So, Neil, who is your banter country this
My
year?
banter country. Ooh, hang
Mm.
on for a second. You know what, actually? Because I think they'll go fucking nuts. Again, because I want to see the psychosexual drama kind of collapsing on itself. I think my banter club would be France.
Okay,
I
I like
think the
that.
egos, I think the whole thing, I think it'll collapse. And again, as I said before, I don't think France will do that well. And I don't
Mm.
think their egos will be able to take it. And I think it'll be
Yeah,
just a conflagration that will be just glorious to watch.
yeah, I can see that. I can totally see that. My banter club is I'm going slightly different from my one. I'm going to go for Wales as my banter club.
Ooh.
The reason I go for that is because I just I'm just trying to picture the hurricane of piss if Wales beat England in Group B. Like if there was a repeat of what was the 2014 World Cup where Roy Hodgson shit the bed.
Yeah.
Was it they got beaten by Italy, they got beaten by Costa Rica, and another team I can't remember. Was it Iran they were in?
Who, England?
Yeah. I'm
Wasn't it
trying to remember that
Iceland who
actually.
beat them?
That was in the Euros. I thought
Oh
I'm
no,
trying to
fuck
think of
no,
the
yeah, yeah, no, no, no,
yeah. I have to look up. I have to consult here because this is gonna wreck my head here.
no.
Um let's see. Was it there we go. Yes, I remember now. So it was they got beaten by England, they got beaten by Italy, then Uruguay, and then drew Costa Rica, the same Costa Rica that got to the quarterfinals.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm just thinking to myself, if the Iran game ends in a draw, I was like, oh shit. And if the USA game ends in a draw, oh shit. And it's left to Wales to potentially put England away. I'm just trying to picture the moment, the dead silence in pubs all across the land, while the hubs of Swansea, Cardiff, Llanelli, the land of our forefathers,
Yeah,
suddenly start setting themselves ablaze with joy. I want Wales to do well. I really, really do because I don't think anyone is giving them a snowball's chance in hell. Um, and like I said, I think someone's analysis of the team put it really well. It's a team that doesn't make sense, but it still works. But it somehow works.
yeah,
Um, and fuck it, let's have fun. Let's
yeah.
see Wales do well. Because that would be great. But yeah, that's our wrap up with the World Cup. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed our preview of it, and I'd be happy to know. I can actually confirm because we've had this checked by Amnesty International. There have been no human rights violations in the making of this podcast. We didn't kill anyone at all, to make this podcast.
We
We just
tried.
someone we
We,
did
we
try.
tried. We
Yeah, in
tried.
fairness, we did. No sense of trying, but we didn't. And that just speaks volumes. See Qatar, you can do it too if you tried.
Hmm.
But yeah, roll on the World Cup, lads, because football's about to kick off soon. Let's do it.